Good afternoon. Today we're going to continue our journey through Genesis, and we'll meet one of the most famous people in all of history, Abraham, the father of the Jewish faith. We're going to meet him when he's first called Abram, he and his wife Sarah, and we're going to read about their call from the land of Ur of the Chaldees to the land that God promises to give them. We're also going to meet the birth of his firstborn. His name is Ishmael, not the one who becomes the father of the Jewish people, not Isaac, but the one that Abram didn't quite trust when the Lord promised him descendants. And so we'll find out that story too today. It'll take about 15 to 20 minutes to read through chapters 12 to 16. The Lord said to Abram, "Go forth from the land of your relatives, from a land of your father's house to a land that I will show you. I will make of you a great nation, and I will bless you. I will make your name great, so that you will be a blessing. I will bless those who bless you, and curse those who curse you. All the families of the earth will find blessing in you." Abram went as the Lord directed him, and Lot went with him. Abram was 75 years old when he left Haran. Abram took his wife Sarai, his brother's son Lot, and all the possessions that they had accumulated, and the persons they had acquired in Haran, and they set out for the land of Canaan. When they came to the land of Canaan, Abram passed through the land as far as the sacred place at Shechem, by the oak of Moreh. The Canaanites were then in the land. The Lord appeared to Abram and said, "To your descendants I will give this land." So Abram built an altar there to the Lord who had appeared to him. From there he moved on to the hill country east of Bethel, pitching his tent with Bethel to the west and Ai to the east. He built an altar there to the Lord and invoked the Lord by name. Then Abram journeyed on by stages to the Negeb. There was a famine in the land, so Abram went down to Egypt to sojourn there, since the famine in the land was severe. When he was about to enter Egypt, he said to his wife Sarai, "I know that you are a beautiful woman. When the Egyptians see you, they will say, 'She is his wife,' then they will kill me, but let you live. Please say therefore that you are my sister, so that I may fare well on your account, and my life may be spared for your sake." When Abram arrived in Egypt, the Egyptians saw that the woman was very beautiful. When Pharaoh's officials saw her, they praised her to Pharaoh, and the woman was taken into Pharaoh's house. Abram fared well on her account, and he acquired sheep, oxen, male and female servants, male and female donkeys, and camels. But the Lord struck Pharaoh and his household with severe plagues because of Sarai, Abram's wife. Then Pharaoh summoned Abram and said to him, "How could you do this to me? Why did you not tell me she was your wife? Why did you say she is my sister, so that I took her for my wife? Now here is your wife. Take her and leave." Then Pharaoh gave his men orders concerning Abram, and they sent him away with his wife and all that belonged to him. From Egypt Abram went up to the Negeb with his wife and all that belonged to him, and Lot went with him. Now Abram was very rich in livestock, silver and gold. From the Negeb he traveled by stages toward Bethel, to the place between Bethel and Ai, where his tent had formerly stood, the site where he had first built the altar. And there Abram invoked the Lord by name. Lot, who went with Abram, also had flocks and herds and tents, so that the land could not support them if they stayed together. Their possessions were so great that they could not live together. There were quarrels between the herders of Abram's livestock and the herders of Lot's livestock. At this time the Canaanites and the Perizzites were living in the land. So Abram said to Lot, "Let there be no strife between you and me, or between your herders and my herders, for we are kindred. Is not the whole land available? Please separate from me. If you prefer the left, I will go to the right. If you prefer the right, I will go to the left." Lot looked about and saw how abundantly watered the whole Jordan plain was, as far as Zoar, like the Lord's own garden, or like Egypt. This was before the Lord had destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah. Lot therefore chose for himself the whole Jordan plain, and set out eastward. Thus they separated from each other. Abram settled in the land of Canaan, while Lot settled among the cities of the plain, pitching his tent near Sodom. Now the inhabitants of Sodom were wicked, great sinners against the Lord. After Lot had parted from him, the Lord said to Abram, "Look about you, and from where you are, gaze to the north and the south, east and west. All the land that you see, I will give to you and your descendants forever. I will make your descendants like the dust of the earth. If anyone would count the dust of the earth, your descendants too might be counted. Get up and walk through the land across its length and breadth, for I give it to you." Abram moved his tents and went on to settle near the oak of Mamre, which is at Hebron. There he built an altar to the Lord. When Amraphel, king of Shinar, Arioch, king of Elasar, Chedorlaomer, king of Elam, and Tidal, king of Goim, made war on Bera, king of Sodom, Bersha, king of Gomorrah, Shinab, king of Admah, Shemeber, king of Zeboim, and the king of Bela, that is Zoar, all the latter kings joined forces in the valley of Siddim, that is the Salt Sea. For 12 years they had served Chedorlaomer, but in the 13th year they rebelled. In the 14th year, Chedorlaomer and the kings allied with him came and defeated Rephaim in Ashtaroth Karnaim, the Zuzim in Ham, the Emim in Shaveh Kiriathaim, and the Horites in the hill country of Seir, as far as Elparan, close by the wilderness. They then turned back and came to En Mishpat, that is Kadesh, and they subdued the whole country of both the Amalekites and the Amorites, who lived in Hazazon Tamar. Thereupon the king of Sodom, the king of Gomorrah, the king of Admah, the king of Zeboim, and the king of Bela, that is Zoar, marched out, and in the valley of Siddim they went into battle against them, against Chedorlaomer, king of Elam, Tidal, king of Goim, Amraphel, king of Shinar, and Arioch, king of Elasar, 4 kings against 5. Now the valley of Siddim was full of bitumen pits, and as the king of Sodom and the king of Gomorrah fled, they fell into these, while the rest fled to the mountains. The victors seized all the possessions and food supplies of Sodom and Gomorrah, and then went their way. They took with them Abram's nephew Lot, who had been living in Sodom, as well as his possessions, and departed. A survivor came and brought the news to Abram the Hebrew, who was camping at the oak of Mamre, the Amorite, a kinsman of Eshcol and Aner. These were allies of Abram. When Abram heard that his kinsman had been captured, he mustered 318 of his retainers born in his house and went in pursuit as far as Dan. He and his servants deployed against them at night, defeated them, and pursued them as far as Hobah, which is north of Damascus. He recovered all the possessions. He also recovered his kinsman Lot and his possessions, along with the women and other people. When Abram returned from his defeat of Chedorlaomer and the kings who were allied with him, the king of Sodom went out to greet him in the valley of Shaveh, that is the king's valley. Melchizedek, king of Salem, brought out bread and wine. He was a priest of God Most High. He blessed Abram with these words: "Blessed be Abram by God Most High, the creator of heaven and earth, and blessed be God Most High, who delivered your foes into your hand." Then Abram gave him 1/10 of everything. The king of Sodom said to Abram, "Give me the captives, the goods you may keep." But Abram replied to the king of Sodom, "I have sworn to the Lord God Most High, the creator of heaven and earth, that I would not take so much as a thread or a sandal strap from anything that is yours, so that you cannot say, 'I made Abram rich.' Nothing for me except what my servants have consumed, and the share that is due to the men who went with me, Aner, Eshcol, and Mamre. Let them take their share." Some time afterward, the word of the Lord came to Abram in a vision. "Do not fear, Abram. I am your shield. I will make your reward very great." But Abram said, "Lord God, What can you give me if I die childless and have only a servant of my household, Eleazar of Damascus?" Abram continued, "Look, you have given me no offspring, so a servant of my household will be my heir." Then the word of the Lord came to him, "No, that one will not be your heir. Your own offspring will be your heir." He took him outside and said, "Look up at the sky and count the stars if you can. Just so," he added, "will your descendants be." Abram put his faith in the Lord, who attributed it to him as an act of righteousness. He then said to him, "I am the Lord, who brought you from Ur of the Chaldeans to give you this land as possession." "Lord God," he asked, "how will I know that I will possess it?" He answered him, "Bring me a 3-year-old heifer, a 3-year-old female goat, a 3-year-old ram, a turtle dove, and a young pigeon." Abram brought him all these, split them in two, and placed each half opposite the other. But the birds he did not cut up. Birds of prey swooped down on the carcasses, but Abram scared them away. As the sun was about to set, a deep sleep fell upon Abram, and a great, dark dread descended upon him. Then the Lord said to Abram, "Know for certain that your descendants will reside as aliens in a land not their own, where they shall be enslaved and oppressed for 400 years. But I will bring judgment upon the nation that they must serve, and after this they will go out with great wealth. You, however, will go to your ancestors in peace. You will be buried at a ripe old age. In the 4th generation your descendants will return here, for the wickedness of the Amorites is not yet complete." When the sun had set, and it was dark, there appeared a smoking fire pot and a flaming torch, which passed between those pieces. On that day, the Lord made a covenant with Abram, saying, "To your descendants I give this land, from the Wadi of Egypt to the great river, the Euphrates, the land of the Kenites, the Kenizzites, the Kadmonites, the Hittites, the Perizzites, the Rephaim, the Amorites, the Canaanites, the Girgashites, and the Jebusites." Abram's wife Sarai had borne him no children. Now she had an Egyptian maidservant named Hagar. Sarai said to Abram, "The Lord has kept me from bearing children. Have intercourse with my maid, perhaps I will have sons through her." Abram obeyed Sarai. Thus, after Abram had lived 10 years in the land of Canaan, his wife Sarai took her maid Hagar the Egyptian and gave her to her husband Abram to be his wife. He had intercourse with her, and she became pregnant. As soon as Hagar knew she was pregnant, her mistress lost stature in her eyes. So Sarai said to Abram, "This outrage against me is your fault. I myself gave my maid to your embrace, but ever since she knew she was pregnant, I have lost stature in her eyes. May the Lord decide between you and me." Abram told Sarai, "Your maid is in your power. Do to her what you regard as right." Sarai then mistreated her so much that Hagar ran away from her. The Lord's angel found her by a spring in the wilderness, the spring on the road to Shur, and he asked, "Hagar, maid of Sarai, where have you come from and where are you going?" She answered, "I am running away from my mistress Sarai." But the Lord's angel told her, "Go back to your mistress and submit to her authority. I will make your descendants so numerous," added the Lord's angel, "that they will be too many to count." Then the Lord's angel said to her, "You are now pregnant and shall bear a son. You shall name him Ishmael, for the Lord has heeded your affliction. He shall be a wild ass of a man, his hand against everyone, and everyone's hand against him. Alongside all his kindred shall he encamp. To the Lord who spoke to her, she gave a name, saying, You are God who sees me. She meant, Have I really seen God and remained alive after he saw me? That is why the well is called Bir Lahai Roi. It is between Kadesh and Bered. Hagar bore Abram a son, and Abram named the son whom Hagar bore him Ishmael. Abram was 86 years old when Hagar bore him Ishmael. That's the end of today's reading. Tomorrow we'll start with the covenant, or Wednesday rather, we'll start with the covenant of Abram and his circumcision and move forward from there. Thank you very much for joining us today. Hope you enjoyed it. Bye.